G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back again for another video of the good, the bad and the ugly for round 3 of the 2023 AFL season. Yeah, a bit embarrassing wearing this shirt at the moment, a poor display from my Swannies, but we'll just try and put that away as we focus on the full round review of this round. Plenty of ups and plenty of downs, so we'll be getting all stuck into that in this video today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're going to enjoy, and let's get straight into it. Okay everyone, so if you're new to this, simply we just go over 3 goods, 3 bads, and 3 uglies of the round. I know the exact same thing they do on the couch, but I just think the concept is pretty good to do. So we'll kick it off with the first good, and I've got for the Adelaide Crows, their youth, the difference in their big, huge win, showdown win that is, against Port Adelaide. I did say last week, the ramifications for whoever loses this game is going to be massive, and looks like Port Adelaide are on the receiving end of that, and now 𝐴𝐿 is under quite a bit of pressure. Just such an important win to bank for the Adelaide Crows, a much needed one into around their 3rd or 4th year of the rebuild. And in terms of the game, look, I felt like Rory Laird was okay. Dawson won the medal, but I don't think it was anything too special. Also, especially like Taylor Walker, he was missing a few shots. But it's quite simply the core of their youth players really getting it done and just working well together to pick up a historic win almost, because it was just such a huge showdown win to get it done by nearly around 30 points in the end. Riley 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐿 really could have won the medal, kicked 5 goals. I thought his forward craft was sensational. His athleticism, especially down forward, was remarkable. Isaac Rankine, this is what happens when he can actually kick straight. He is a genuine game changer. Thought he had a fantastic game. I reckon Luke Pedlar's a very good chance to get the Rising Star Award. He kicked 3 goals, had 2 goal assists, around 8 score involvements. Soligo and Hinge across the wings were very good too, and Josh Rachele with a much needed goal, I'm pretty sure around that 3rd term. So it was a statement win for the Crows, a much needed one they needed to bank to get a bit more confidence heading into this season, and it was just the beauty of their youth really getting it done. And yeah, I think, again, Rankine or 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐿, very unlucky not to take home the medal, but maybe the coaches' votes, they'll get quite a few in the next coming days. For my next good, for the Western Bulldogs, they have finally gotten their bite back. A much needed win they got over the Lions at Thursday night, getting it done by 14 points. And I tell you, I did say, I'm pretty sure my tipping video, last year the Bulldogs also 0-2 and they got that much needed win against Sydney, and I just said I felt that, you know, they could really get a good performance in here against the Lions. Still did tip the Lions though, so I can't be saying, oh look at me, I'm right and everything. A bit of a scrappy game, but you know, Jamarra Ugle-Hagan, the star, of course, on the end of a few questionable free kicks, still kicking 5 goals. Thought he was a huge part in their win, and I think just in general you could see it, they were just a bit more passionate, especially in the midfield. They were much more harder at the ball, and their ball use was a lot better. I thought their transition play was excellent, a lot more bolder with their ball use, not just boring and bland. They hit the corridor, they got things right with handball chains. They were just able to really rebound quickly off halfback as well. Ed Richards with 25 disposals, thought he put together a fine game. Ballydale too with 30. McRae and Bontempelli were probably one of the best players on ground. They were brilliant as well in that midfield, really getting things forward. It might have been in the end a really scrappy win, but they were just able to really match Brisbane in the contest. They got their contested game, which they're very good at back, and they got just a much needed win heading into a few difficult games now for the Bulldogs. They do have the Tigers away and also Port Adelaide away, so it was a much needed win to bank and to get a bit more confidence heading into their year. Moving on now to the final good for the Melbourne Demons. No gone, no worries is the statement on their huge 50-point win over the Sydney Swans. The thing with the Demons is they, especially last year, they just really struggled as soon as Tom McDonald went out to get a good enough forward structure going. They were pretty poor with their ball movement inside 50. They just hoof it long in towards the pockets. You know, Ben Brown couldn't get on the receiving ends of things, and Bailey Fritsch and, you know, the small forwards too of 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐿 Pickett and Neil Bullen couldn't really get enough output to put on consistent scoring. But against the Sydney Swans, I felt their deliveries inside 50 was remarkable. Grundy was awesome as a solo ruck. Tom McDonald out too, but you had Ben Brown making a bit of an impact. Van Rooyen kicking 3 goals as a key forward was outstanding as well. And Kane Chandler, Charlie Spargo and Neil Bullen worked really well moving high up the ground, and the deliveries inside 50s was excellent too. They really picked their way through the Swans and really lowered their eyes, hitting targets inside 50, and they converted everything as well. They didn't necessarily just hoof it long to a tall option, lower their eyes, hit up targets, and converted very nicely. I think they were around 11 goals through around the 3rd quarter. They were flawless today in front of goal and converting their chances inside 50. So it's a promising thing to see. Their forward structure looking quite promising. Will that be able to continue in the next few rounds? I definitely think so, because again, you know, it started with their midfield and strong setting up from defence, so they're looking solid against the Demons. No Gawn, no worries by the looks of it heading into the next month or two. Moving on to the three bads now. For the first one, with a huge showdown loss, we have to ask the question again, is Hinckley finally done? I think a lot of Port Adelaide fans would definitely say so, because the past two games, again, their true colours of their shaky defence has shown. They've conceded 39 goals the past two games, so they've conceded obviously 2 times in a row, which is just not a thing you want to see with their backline. I think Darcy Byrne-Jones has just never been himself ever since that 2020 season. 𝐼𝐗𝐬's just not been able to get things going since his 2021 All-Australian season. Tom Jonas just keeps on turning the ball over. Just a lot of unaccountable plays, and they just simply cannot work together that well as a back six, conceding way too many scores and repeated amounts of inside 50s, and just a few of those surges they concede and give up a lot of points. And also that, just getting beaten in their own game. They usually are a pretty strong contested side, but just those Adelaide midfielders are able to get on top of Port Adelaide's. I mean, minus 22 in the contested possessions, an area they're usually good at, is not a good sight to see. And just a lot of individuals I thought had quite poor games. A lot of the key defensive posts talked about Jonas. Finlayson, I think he just is such an inconsistent player. Might have a good week one week, then just a shocking week the other. Travis Boak was probably one of his worst games in recent memory. Only, I think he had around 11 touches. Barely showed much influence. Marshall wasn't really good too. Talking about Byrne-Jones, it was just a concerning display from Port Adelaide. I thought their forward half would be able to really get clicking. I mean, Charlie Dixon was decent, but I just think they're in for maybe an inconsistent year. That back line just concedes way too many goals, and maybe Hinckley's out the door at the end, or maybe during the 2023 season. Moving on to my next bad, and this is probably maybe a bit more of a personal one, but this is just what I've always found with the Giants so far this season. They're just an ugly team to watch. The thing with the Giants, though, is I love their effort. I mean, the win against the Crows was inspirational. Awful to watch, of course, against the Eagles. Could not get things clicking, and against the Blues, pretty much the same thing. How they're such an ugly team to watch is their ball skills are genuinely poor. We know they are known for their orange tsunami, but they simply cannot do it. I don't think they have the adequate ball skills. I mean, players like 𝐼𝐴𝐴 should be their main distributor back there, but he only had around 65% time on ground, barely was on the ground. And a lot of turnovers they did have. Cornelia was just hacking the ball, turning it over. Jesse Hogan and Jake Riccardi, they might have a good game here or there, but, you know, they're sort of VFL quality players. They could go into the twos, kick 7, come into the AFL, do barely anything. So maybe CARDMAN gets a debut. And the other thing as well is if Toby Green isn't playing well, their forward line can just be an absolute shambles. The ball skills are poor. Their deliveries inside 50 as well were shocking. You know, every time it went in there, they just hoof it long, never lower their eyes. I know it was wet, but this is probably just more of a reflection of the first 3 rounds. Their ball skills just really need to get improving. This is certainly nothing against their performance against the Blues. I thought they were quite unfortunate with that dissent free, pretty much changed the momentum of the game. Just in general of how they do play their brand, it's just sort of ugly to watch. And for me, that's sort of the bad of this round. I think if they can really get their ball skills improved, I think they could start to really churn out more points, and they need to be more efficient inside 50 as well if they really want to build and get a few more wins this season. And for my final bad in this video, the Geelong Cats, they are in genuine danger of their season slipping away. 0-3 now, and I gave them the benefit of the doubt in my tipping video. I thought I could, I did say I can't see him playing bad footy. I think they'll head up to the Suns and get a much needed win, but I should have probably took a lot more in depth of their looks in the first 2 rounds. Unaccountable football, slow football, transition game slow, ball skills very, very average. And again, they showed it against the Suns. And the Suns are a team people are not sort of underestimating, I think. I think their midfield is quite a strong one. They're a good clearance midfield. They're able to show that. Down forward, 𝐓𝐴𝐴 kicking 5 goals. He was fantastic. The Suns were fantastic and were just able to really run rings around Geelong's midfield and etc. But, you know, there's just... I just think the too old, too slow mantra of what we did here last year is probably coming to fruition for the Cats this year. They had their fun, they got that brilliant premiership last year, but maybe now it's time to transition into a new wave of Geelong players. It's pretty much Jeremy Cameron or bust. I think Hawkins has just been playing awful football. He just looks way out of it. He just looks slow too. And the small forwards too, Brad Close and also Tyson Stengel barely are getting much output like they did from last year. Great to see Tom Stewart back though. He was probably at his best of just accumulating a lot of ball, taking a lot of intercept marks, being that general back there. But it just simply wasn't enough for the Cats. I think they're just... yeah, defending not so great, slow ball movement as well. They are just lacking multiple avenues to goal at the moment. And yeah, apart from Jeremy Cameron, they could be in even more danger. So yeah, the Cats are in real danger of their season slipping away. 0-3. It's been a long time since the Premier has gone 0-3. So I'm really intrigued to see how this season will go. They've got the Hawks Monday, Easter Monday game. So yeah, I mean, sure that they'll win that, right? Like, genuinely, I do not know. So it's concerning, but we'll see how they go in the next month or so. Now we move on to the three uglies. And as I did say in last week's video, I like to separate the uglies from the bad because these are true uglies. First one I've got is just the dissent rule is way too inconsistent. Saw too many inconsistencies with this rule this weekend. Of course, the main one, the turning point in the Giants and Carlton game where 𝐴𝐞 and I think it was Whitfield as well, just putting their arms out like this, like, hey, what's this free kick for? What's going on? Umpire declares a dissent free. I think it was Motlop kicks the goal, and that was a turning point in that game. They hit the lead, they win the game by around 15 points. It's just way too inconsistent because then you look onto the Saints game. Jack Higgins, I think it was Redmond that tapped it through. To be honest, an appeal-worthy, deliberate, but Jack Higgins is going, yelling at the umpire like, oh, that is deliberate every day of the week. And menacethedennis just simply says, Jack, mate, just pipe it down, move on. That should be dissent. It's just simply too inconsistent. 𝐓𝐴𝐻𝐼𝐷 giving one away, of course, for the Swans game. It didn't look like he said much, maybe a swear word. There probably needs to be a more consistent criteria for something to be dissent. Maybe if they raise their voice very loudly, it's called. Maybe if they swear at the umpire, it's called. There needs to be some sort of consistency in the rule because it's just, like, it simply cannot work. There's going to be just momentum in game-changing decisions from dissent rules, and other times there isn't. You know, it's just ruining some games, and to be honest, that's what happened to the Giants and the Carlton game. Nothing against the Blues, a good win, but yeah, it's just simply too inconsistent. Need to get a strong enough criteria with dissent free kicks, I do reckon. For my next ugly, it's the Brisbane Lions, and I question now, are they downhill skiers? I don't want to call the Labour of, oh, they're pretenders. Maybe they are, but it is very difficult for non-Victorian teams to really show flawless years. It's a question now I really want to ponder on, because when they have things on their terms and they're playing maybe at home at the Gabba, of course they can have that odd win, maybe in Melbourne, a really good win, etc., let's say. But when things are mainly on their terms, they play great football. Obviously against the Demons they show that. But when things aren't on their terms, they just fold. And we saw that against Port Adelaide. Their midfield was just shell-shocked in that second half. And even against now, the Western Bulldogs, they were pretty poor. Genuinely quite poor. Their ball movement was just very substandard. Harris Andrews, yes, he might have had a good game, but just not enough output from their defence. And the main problem is where they usually are quite strong at the forward line. Too inconsistent in my opinion. You've got Eric Hipwood, you've got Joe Daniher. I mean, Joe Daniher last year I'm pretty sure kicked a goal every game. And in fact, no, I think that was 2021. He's usually quite a decent player, but the set shots are too inconsistent. I think, you know, Charlie Cameron can either have a brilliant game or a very quiet game. Same with Lincoln McCarthy too. They just struggle, especially in away games, to really get things onto their terms and just, you know, really show resilience to fight back and get a win. It's, you know, dropping to 1-2, we thought the Lions would, you know, be a lot better away this year, but I think the label of downhill skiers fits the Lions at the moment, and I hate to say that because I do love the look of their team. It just isn't clicking at the moment, and yeah, again, it's going to be a big game against the Pies at home, so I'll probably back them there, but I think the label of downhill skiers fits the Lions quite well so far in 2023. And for the final ugly in this video today, you probably do know what it is. It is West Coast's injury carnage. Just, you'd think if they could not get any more unlucky this year with all the injuries they had last year, the COVID outs and all that whatnot, they have gone up and picked up huge injuries in there. Look, I think gallant loss against the Dockers. They really showed a bit of resilience with all those outs. So they had Witherden out. I'll have to actually go it one by one here. Witherden was out with a knee into the guts. Jamie Cripps went off with an ankle injury. Shuey did his hamstring. McGovern did his hamstring. Liam Ryan with a huge concussion after taking almost a Mark of the Year contender if he was able to hold on. And Chesser with a left knee knock but played on. it was just a huge injury carnage for Eagles, and those are some few key players. I mean, Cripps is a very underrated forward. 𝐓𝐡𝐞, important part of the midfield. McGovern, their main interceptor. Witherden, look, a bit of a whipping boy, but still maybe best 22 at times. It's just an ugly thing to see for the Eagles. But on the flip side, look, they had some very positive moments. I mean, Tim Kelly's been in some good form now. 𝐓𝐴𝐵 as well, and Jane Hunt across halfback have been very good too. I think Darling's in some good form, but just a simply ugly aspect with, again, a few of those key players now maybe out for some time, and it could be a bit of deja vu for Eagles fans and their season in 2023. So everyone, there was another episode of the good, bad and ugly for round 3 of the 2023 AFL season. Of course, with just 3 bads, 3 goods and 3 uglies. I can't go over every single detailed moment, but usually in my tipping videos, I like to go in depth of each game and etc. So make sure to stay tuned for those tipping videos. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to enjoy today's video. Next round's going to be pretty huge with the Easter weekend, so keen for that. And yeah, until next time, fellas, I will talk to you later. See you later.